So Scotty, your current single "You Time" has become another massive smash hit for you. I know you co-wrote the song with Aaron S. Ice and the great Frank Rogers, and those two guys produced it with Derek Wells. I believe this is another song that was greatly influenced and inspired by your wife, Gabi.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've written a bunch for her. So this was a song I wrote back in 2019, and pre-pandemic and all that. And I was just, she was working, I was on the road, we weren't seeing each other a lot. So I was like, man, we got to slow down and just kind of get some time together. And sure enough, it's like, be careful what you ask for, because we got that, 2020. But yeah, it's definitely all about her.
You do seem to have developed a special relationship with Frank Rogers, and obviously over the years, I mean, he's enjoyed incredible success with people like Brad Paisley, Darius Rucker, Josh Turner. What have you learned from working with him? What has he brought out in you as a singer-songwriter?
Yeah, I mean, what haven't I learned is probably the question. I mean, he's just taken me under his wing and been such a mentor to me. And I'd say the biggest thing for me is just learning how to make a record with him. I mean, learning how to make a full project, an album, start to finish, and writing those songs as well. And when we first started out, I think I wrote one or two songs on the Sea Tonight record that he did with me, and then the Seasons Change record we did together. I wrote every song on it, co-wrote every song, and he was probably like 7 of those. So it's, sorry if you hear my dog, it's going, but he's really, I mean, from start to finish, I mean, he's taught me so much over the years.
So "You Time" features on your brand new album "Same Truck," which is out on September 17th. I do know that you had quite a lot of an album pretty much done, and then the way that life played out ultimately changed what this album has become. I see you were involved in the writing of 10 of the 12 songs, and since the release of your last album, Seasons Change, yourself and Gibby have now been married for 3 years. So I would assume, with that factored in as well with the, you might call it a gift, the time for reflection the pandemic gave us all. I'm sure you found yourself with a wealth of life experience to reflect on.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think that's exactly what happened between the time when we had a lot of an album done and then the pandemic hit. And obviously, it's awful times we were going through it. If there's a silver lining for me as an artist, it's that time that I had to sit back, uh, take it all in, reflect. I mean, I hadn't had time like that since I was 15 years old, and I'm 27 now. So, um, for me, it was huge. And again, the record we made prior, and pretty much every record has always been kind of looking ahead. And this record's got a lot of kind of sitting back and reflecting, and what am I thankful for? What am I excited about? And, I think because that's just the headspace that I was in over the last year.
I mean, I mentioned the Seasons Change album there, and it really did prove to be one of the great comeback stories in country music in recent times. From parting ways with your previous label, Mercury Nashville, to then releasing that album with your current label home at Triple Tigers, to have been involved in the writing of every single song and then achieve three consecutive number ones, to see it enjoy so much success, both critically and commercially. It must have been so sweet and also such a joy of an album to bring to the stage.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I'm a competitive guy. I've played sports my whole life, and so if somebody, if you get knocked down, you got two choices. It's, you can sit there and sulk, or you can pick yourself up by the bootstraps and start working hard again. And that's what we did. And that album meant so much to me. In a lot of ways, I kind of view it as my debut album. It's just my first few records. I was so young and just kind of figuring out the ropes, and that's the first one I felt like I really had a true grasp on how to make an album, how to write a song, how to tell a story. And I had a lot of stories that I wanted to tell through that record, so it was huge for me, and that album will always be my baby.
See, you mentioned that competitive side to your personality and the way that your career has played out from experiencing highs and lows, from being that 17-year-old kid who won American Idol to now being a 27-year-old married man. Has have those experiences made you more ambitious and competitive, or has it in a way given you an element of perspective to look around, see what you've achieved, and maybe be able to enjoy each day and take it as it comes, as opposed to looking at what the artist next to you is doing and going, why is that not me?
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure I've been asked that question. I'd say it's a little bit of both. I mean, coming off of Idol in 2011, I mean, I, I didn't know it at the time. I mean, it was the biggest show on TV. I couldn't walk through the airports.
Yeah.
It was bananas. So I definitely experienced that kind of high before. So I've got that perspective. I've seen that, and obviously everybody wants to be the biggest and the baddest. You want to go out there and be selling out arenas and stuff, and that's still the goal one day. But part of me too has seen how crazy that was, and I'm a very mellow, even keeled kind of guy, laid back. Enjoy kind of my time to myself and my family and the private times of life. So part of me kind of, instead of looking around at what are the other artists doing, it's kind of like, man, I got such a cool life. I get to write songs for a living. I get to go out there and sing songs, and people actually show up and sing them with me and are having a good time. So as long as I can do that, obviously we want to keep getting to the next level. But I'm very happy.
I know that your faith is something that's very important to you. And from having seen Carrie Underwood enjoy a lot of success very recently with her gospel album, and Josh Turner, he put an album out, which I'm sure you're aware, in 2018, I Serve a Savior. I love that. Is that on the bucket list for you to one day record a gospel album?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to do that. I think Carrie is definitely at a level, and Josh is he's at a level, and they've both enjoyed success over, I mean, probably 20 years or close to it, and massive success. I think I think I've still got a little bit of work to go before I can take off an album cycle, if that makes sense. Out from the normal commercial music, and work on a project like that. But if I get to that level, that'd be the first thing. And even if I don't, one day that will definitely happen for me. Does that make sense?
Of course, yeah. I mean, you mentioned Carrie Underwood there, and it has been 10 years since you yourself won American Idol. And to have come through that TV talent show route and now be at the stage where you're releasing your fifth album, and it's only really now, I think, off the back of the last album, your identity as an artist is very clear to the public. To now be at the stage where you have that complete, authentic creative control, what advice would you give to aspiring singer-songwriters because you've lived it?
Yeah. I think, are you asking if they come off the show, kind of what that
You
advice would
know,
be?
obviously, if somebody goes down that route, that's one thing, but even somebody in their bedroom, even uploading, the way times have changed, people are now sticking stuff on YouTube. Just in general, what's the key, do you think, to stand out?
Yeah, I think that there's always something about everybody that makes them different, that makes them unique. Everybody has that thing. So for me, I've always told folks, just really embrace that. Don't try to hide it and do what you think radio's doing right now or what's working in the media. Embrace what makes you you. And I think people will see that, and they'll see it shine through, and it can kind of break through what everybody else is doing because it's so unique. So don't be afraid to show what makes you you, and then from the songwriting perspective, don't be afraid to write what you know, what you live, what's important to you, and in your real life. I think for me, I've just, over the last album and this album, gotten comfortable just writing from personal experience and not being kind of shy about that.
Mhm. I mean, throughout the pandemic, you were one of the more proactive country stars on social media, be it Facebook or Instagram Live. It seemed like every time I scrolled through a timeline, you were either doing an interview or doing an acoustic performance or just generally staying in touch with your fans. Was that enjoyable, or did you reach a point where, when you're sitting in an empty room performing to a laptop, where sort of the novelty wore off a wee bit?
Yeah, no, it's so interesting because I kind of view myself as one of the worst social media guys out there in the country world. Like, when I'm going about my everyday life, I don't think to stop and take a picture and post it. I'm just kind of living in the moment. But I think just given the circumstances and, missing the road and not seeing the fans, I was like, man, we got to find a way to connect even through this. So I really enjoyed it. It's something I wouldn't want to do every year. I mean, I want to be on the road and touring and seeing people face to face, but those were the cards we were dealt, and we had to make the most of it. So I enjoyed it. The first few ones I was very nervous, and eventually I got into my kind of routine and knew what worked and stuff. And there was definitely a point I was like, okay, I'm ready to like play in an actual room with people again. But no, I thought it was pretty cool.
And your diary is, for the rest of the year at least, pretty full at the minute with gigs in the States. To now be at the other end where you're back on stage in front of a crowd, you can feel that energy. What's that like?
Oh, it's great. And those first few shows back were just enormous for me and the band being away, and just getting on there and feeling the energy. Number one from the crowd, but also just me and the band. I mean, we've been together. Some of us now over the last week have been together 10 years. So I mean, we're like a family out there and have missed each other too. And so just feeling that the amps going, the bass, the kick drum going, and then you see people that are actually out there. It was pretty euphoric. So yeah, we missed it, and it's still. I mean, you can still tell the crowds are just excited to be back. So we're still there too. So definitely won't take those days for granted anymore.
It must be weird though when you were putting out music and you can watch a song climb the chart, but you have no way of gauging how it's being received with the public.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It took us, I think, 6 months before we ever played In Between, as it was a number one. So we saw it kind of go from the release not charting to like top 30, which people were still kind of figuring out the words at that point. So it was fun to start playing that live again. And then U-Time as well, seeing people dancing and clapping. You're like, okay, it's working. It's working. So.
And just finally, Scotty, you were obviously due to tour the UK and Ireland back in October of 2020. Because of the pandemic, those dates were moved to May of 2021. They're still to happen. Saying they're still to happen as the world now slowly begins to reopen, is that on your mind? Is that still an ambition to get over here? Because you know your Belfast show in particular sold out in a heartbeat.
Yeah, well, trust me, it's still on our mind. We were just yesterday, me and management were talking about it and kind of going over our options, and we'd like to get over there as quick as possible. So as soon as we can, and things, all the tours and the stars align again, because it's obviously a process of getting the states dates and those and everything just to line up. But it's like I said, we were talking about it yesterday. It's at the top of our list.
Listen, Scotty, appreciate your time so much. The new album is Same Truck, out September 17th. Continued success. And hopefully, when you do get to Belfast, maybe we could do this face to face sometime.
Absolutely. I would love to, man. Absolutely. We're fingers crossed we get over there super soon.